Hey everybody, welcome back. Out for my daily walk, daily talk about giving up the booze. So to start off with, 25 months sober. I take everything day by day. I was a monthly drinker. I drank on a weekend, just one day. Do my weeks, sometimes 2 weeks worth of limit in 7 or 8 hours. And so I had to quit because I was drinking too much and it's killing all my friends. And it's still killing my friends. This is like 2 years later. I go on Facebook and they're dropping like flies. And this is no joke. This is real. Of course, how could any of that be a joke? It's not funny at all, is it? A good place for me to start on this topic is I've covered what's happening with my friends in previous videos. And now's my chance to talk a little bit about myself, just for a little while. So, I'm going to be 50 soon, which makes me 1970s vintage. And I guess I had my first taste of drink when I was 14. I'd say I got my first good buzz going when I was 15, and I was definitely drinking scoops by 16. And what would that entail? Well, it would entail hanging around my friends during the weekend and somebody got, let's get cans of beer or naggins of vodka. We'd neck those and go off to the discos. That was it. That's what everyone did growing up in 1980s Ireland. 1990s, same thing again, only you're older and you can legally acquire it. Off to college, same thing again. Drink, everyone's drinking. Or they don't drink at all. It's one of the two. So you either drink lots or you don't. And the thing about drinking lots is it can give you a false sense of your own tolerance, and also really underestimates alcohol, because as we said in previous videos, which I learned from the actor Richard Burton, alcohol is like a boxer, and when you think that you've managed to evade the boxer and you underestimate the boxer, then the boxer catches you out and puts you down. Sometimes you don't even know you've been put down. But that's alcohol. Alcohol is a hard drink, demon alcohol. So, in the past, I've given up booze and I've given up drinking quite a few times in my life. And in the past, I never really thought that I had much of a problem. And giving up was actually quite easy because I don't like the taste of alcohol. So, throughout my life, there's been times where I've just decided, no more booze. I'm gonna quit. And I quit. And I now realize how lucky I was that I didn't come to any serious harm when I quit. And here's the problem. Doesn't matter if you're somebody who has a glass of wine with dinner at the weekend, or hammering back the booze all week long. It doesn't matter. Either one of those individuals, when they stop drinking, can be putting their life at risk. and not knowing it. And this is probably, apart from being drunk, one of the most serious things about drinking is you don't realize it. When you stop drinking, you must, no matter who you are, no matter how old you are, no matter how much you've been drinking, if you make the decision to quit, within 24 hours of taking that decision, you should seek out medical intervention right away. You go see a doctor, you tell the doctor that you're going to stop drinking. This is absolutely imperative, because the doctor will instantly know, even after asking you how much you're drinking or not drinking, that there is a chance that you are going to react in ways that you haven't reacted before, even if you gave up before. This is the thing, history is no predictor of what's going to happen next. And some people will say, well, when you're younger, your tolerance levels are, better, you can quit easier. Or some people say, when you're older, got more sense, you'll quit easier. It's got nothing to do with that. It's alcohol itself, demon alcohol, and what it's capable of doing as a hard drug is it can kill you when you quit. And how does it do that? Well, the alcohol, the way it reacts with the body and the brain's chemistry and or physiology or biochemistry, is like implanting a little time bomb in our head. And if we don't drink, that bomb could go off. And it's called the delirium, tremens, withdrawals, DTs. And that can kill you. And I didn't know this at the time. So 2 years ago, I decided I'd stop drinking, stop smoking, stop a lot of things. And I thought I could do it by my lonesome. I thought I could do it on my own, by myself. I was wrong, badly mistaken. Within a few days of quitting and not seeing a doctor, because I was silly, I started to have hallucinations. Hallucination number one was, I thought that I was about to enter a new dimension. I believed that demons were manifesting. I believed that people had been taken over by aliens or demons. Very sci-fi. Now, it wasn't full throttle belief. It was just I would have those notions every few hours. And I was very uncertain about reality. And then I noticed that I had trouble keeping myself balanced as well. I felt off. So I knew something was up. And I knew it was somehow related to quitting. And a lot of religious allegories started popping up. And I was praying, oh God, I hope the demons go away. I was sweating a bit. And of course, wasn't sleeping. I was up all night staring at the ceiling for a few days. So I contacted some people and I said, started telling them what was happening, how I was quitting, and they were quite shocked actually at my whole demeanour and what I was thinking. And they said, look, you're going to have to see a doctor about this. This is, kind of frightening. So I agreed. And I actually had to take an ambulance ride to the hospital because it was worse than I thought it was. Couldn't do this on my own. I needed an ambulance. Ambulance came, they asked me what was happening, and I tried to explain it to them. They said, fair enough, come on in. So I went into the ambulance voluntarily, off to the hospital voluntarily, and I was trying to speak to the doctor about what was happening to me. And they decided within, I'd say 20 minutes of an assessment, that I would have to go to detox for as long as it took. So I agreed, and I went to detox, and I had all sorts of weird thoughts that I was going to get married and stuff. Yeah, like I was going to get, it was weird. And that everybody be in the church and I'd be getting married. So I remember going into the ward. I had to take off my clothes, and the nurses were there. And the nurses said, you're going to have to go into this room on your own for monitoring, where they have some beds and cameras and stuff. I said, fine, take me there. And for some reason I thought that the nurse was going to beat the living daylights out of me when I was in the room. I don't know, I had that apprehension. And when I went into the room, he points at 2 beds and he goes, pick one of those. I picked one, lay back in the bed, and they put the heart monitors on me, and they put the other monitors on, but mostly my heart. And they tried to give me 3 pills, and I spat them back out because I was thinking it would be the death of God if I swallowed these 3 pills, right? It'd be deicide. And the male nurse was kind of smiling, laughing a bit. I guess he'd seen it hundreds of times before. And the female nurse, a bit more serious. Take your meds. So I took them. And then, of course, I didn't sleep. My eyes, I was looking at the ceiling all the time. I was having bizarre thoughts about my school where I grew up, and I thought that one of the teachers was a demon, Jack the Ripper, going throughout time and space and places, and it was the same demon occupying many different people's bodies, showing us that he could live forever if he was able to pull the wool over all our eyes. And that was my thought at the time. And so I managed to actually get some sleep, I think. I woke up the next morning. How was it over? All those hallucinations came to an end. Done. And so I moved into a room with some other guys that were in there. I think it was a heroin addict and some other guy that had tried to cut his wrists. There's a few more people in there who tried to cut their wrists as well. And I was feeling better. So there's no hallucinations at all. No strange thoughts whatsoever. And I grabbed a book. What was I reading? The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. Read that many times before. So I think I was on my third reading. I decided that I would just read that, and however long it took to get well, the better. That evening they called people for their meds. I went and took my meds voluntarily. Now, within... Oh, train's going past. Now, Within a few days, I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm actually doing exercises in the morning. I'm showering and stuff like this. But what I did do throughout the time that I was there, and by the way, I had no problem being there at all. I was fine with it. I just had some rules in my brain, which was, don't try to force anything. You're here with other people who have problems. Try to be understanding of that, and which I was. And don't ask for anything more than you deserve. So I wasn't complaining about the food. I ate everything that was put in front of me. I spoke with people. I told them that everything's going to be okay, because I believed it would be. I met one man. He must have been 60, and he spent his whole life going to nightclubs. Every day he'd go to a nightclub and he'd drop ecstasy and dance to the music, and that was his life. And he's 60. And I was like, what? Yeah, he'd be listening to electronic music and techno and just doing drugs. He was obviously on social welfare. Never worked either. Just did that. And he's 60. That was a bit mind-blowing. That he kept going. Obviously he wanted to stop, change his life at 60. Why not? There was a lawyer in there, obviously, a few suicidal thoughts or whatever. There was other people who had suicidal thoughts too, and had even tried it. And me, I'm just detoxing. And if I had to go into a queue, I joined the queue. I didn't rush. Some people try and rush to the front to be there first and get the first meal and the first coffees or whatever. Nah. Go to the back. And really, by the end of the week, I sort of knew that I wasn't going to be there much longer. At the weekend, I met the doctor, the big doctor, the head doctor. Head doctor says, look, tell me about your life. I told him about my life a bit. I told him what I was doing. He said, well, aren't you stupid? I said, yeah. He said, do you want to go home? I said, yeah. And got some medication to go on. I went home. And that was it in terms of detox. So yeah, detoxification. I didn't see this one coming. I thought that I was stronger, more resilient than booze in terms of quitting it. And I was not at all. What a false sense of security that was. And the thing is that I know if I didn't go to the doctor that time, I could have been in some pretty bad situation. Maybe blabbering to myself on the side of the road or something like that, and being picked up by the police. So thank God that didn't happen, So the moral of the story is, do quit, but when you're serious about it, see a doctor immediately. Tell them your plans. Stay in contact with that doctor. Because if you don't, there is a good chance that withdrawal's going to creep up on you without you even knowing it. And that's demon drink. That's what it can do. And that was a surprise. And the thing about it was, one of the nurses who was laughing when I was in there telling him all these delusions, he had obviously seen this several times a day. People coming in and talking absolute nonsense. And the thing is that when I was there was all different types of people. There were homeless people and lawyers. So alcohol doesn't care who you are, doesn't care what your background is, doesn't care what your religion is or not, doesn't care about your politics, doesn't care about your education, doesn't care about your gender, doesn't care about your age. It doesn't give a flying monkey's uncle about any of that. All it cares about is getting you into a state where you have to take more of it, or if you don't, it's going to kick your bum. So if you're drinking, it's kicking your bum. If you're not drinking, it's kicking your bum. And that's the prison, I guess, that it wants you to be in. So how do you break that cycle? Well, you gotta quit. You gotta take that pill. Pilling the cat, you're the cat. Stop spitting the pill out, take the pill. It's a daily pill. And it's a daily pill where you ask the question, where is alcohol going to jump out of the bush at me today and try to get me to engage it? And the only way you beat it is to acknowledge that it's better than you are at everything except maybe appealing to a higher power. And you got to acknowledge that it can beat you. I acknowledge that alcohol can beat me. It's a better boxer than I am. So one thing you can do to help yourself quit the booze, and this is what they do in AA, is appeal to a higher power. That higher power can be anything. It's more powerful than you. Let the higher power handle it. Most people call that power God. Vengeance belongs to the Lord, as the good book says. Now, atheism is an interesting topic, and we can do that another time. My background's in biology, and I'm well educated in evolutionary biology and adaptive complexity by the mechanism of natural selection, which is the struggle for survival, genetic variation, and reproduction. I've read all the atheist material, did the atheism for a long time. Doesn't suit me. I prefer to have a belief. So I believe in a higher power. Quitting substance abuse requires more than yourself to deal with it. I think that's one of the big twists in life, that if you want to get out from these problems, appealing to a higher power is important. But what's just as important are the doctors who help me, the nurses who help me, the people who help me, the medicine that help me. But I don't think they're mutually exclusive positions. I don't think it's an either or situation. I think you can have both. And in 2 years, I've been able to have both. It's not a problem. You just gotta realize that you don't know everything. You can't know everything. You're not all powerful, and neither is the other person over there, or this other person over there, or anyone you see on the telly. They're not all powerful beings. There's something else that's above that. God. Let God handle these things. And that has suited me absolutely fine, right down to the ground. So I'm sticking with that because it works. And if it works, then we don't try to fix what isn't broken. there's my little adventure story about withdrawals and how dangerous they are. And I think that's really the central message of this walk and talk, that if you're going to give up, and you should, but it has to be your choice. Nobody else can do it for you. But if you make that choice, definitely, most definitely, see a doctor within 24 hours of making that choice. Don't let it go on any longer, because alcohol can just come out like a boxer, even when you're not on it, and floor you, because you have engaged the boxer in the past, and you think that the fight is over, and that not just the round is over, but the entire fight is just beginning. That's round one. Didn't even know that you're in the boxing ring. Didn't even know that the boxer is in the other corner, waiting for you to get up and throw your hands into the air, thinking that you've won. At that point, the bell rings. The boxer comes over. He pulls one over on you, into the chin, jab, and you're down and out for the count. And when you wake up, you're wondering, what just happened? What just happened? What happened there? What was that? And then you see it. He's smiling. Demon alcohol in the corner. He's jumping up and down, because he knows that there's going to be round 2 and a round 3 and a round 4. And that's why you need to tag out and let God take over.